Let's take a look at Leet code question 48, rotate image. And this is a good question to practice your knowledge of matrices and apply a mathematical technique to be able to solve this question. So you are given a n by n 2D matrix representing an image. Rotate the image by 90 degrees clockwise. You have to rotate the image in place, which means you have to modify the input 2D matrix directly. Do not allocate another 2D matrix and do the rotation. So you can see the example here. We've got an array of arrays where each array in the array is going to be an array of numbers, which represents the rows. So we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the second row, we've got 4, 5, 6. And then the third row, we've got 7, 8, 9 here. And basically what we want to do is we want to take this first row and we want to make it the last column. We want to take the second row and make it the middle column here. So this 4, 5, 6 goes here. And then this 7, 8, 9 here will be the first column there. And then there's another example here. So it's important that we do this. We don't return anything. We're just mutating the matrix in place. So basically what we want to do is we want to get the number of the rows. So we can just say let n equal the matrix, and this is a square matrix, so you know the rows and the columns are going to be the same. So basically n represents both the number of rows and the columns. And essentially what we want to do is we can imagine if we swap all of the elements, what would happen. So for example, and I might just redraw things out here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, if we were to swap the rows with the columns, which we will do, basically in mathematics you have a matrix and you have what's known as transposing a matrix. And what transposing a matrix is basically you look at this main diagonal, which is the diagonal from the first element to the last element. And basically what happens is you mirror everything across. So that 1, 5, and 9 stays in the same position, but the 2 and the 4, they would swap. The 6 and the 8 would swap, for example. The 3 and the 7 would swap. So basically, another way to think of that is if you swap the position of the row and the column with the column and the row, basically you would end up with something like this. So firstly, the 1 would stay in the same spot, but then the 4 would be swapped with the 2, and then the 7 would be swapped. And then the 2 which got swapped with the 4 would be there. The main diagonal stays the same. And then this 8 gets swapped with the 6. And then we would have the 3 which got swapped before. Would have the 6 which got swapped with the 8. And then the 9 would be in the same spot. So that isn't quite there just yet, but it gets us sort of almost there, in the sense that if we were to reverse the rows, that would be there. So if you take a look at this one here, this 1, 4, 7, and recall what we're doing here is we want to rotate this 90 degrees clockwise, meaning that essentially we want the 1, 2, 3 here to be on the right there, one on that last column there, 1, 2, 3. So basically you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3 at the start here, but we want that to be at the end. And if you look at this is actually true for all of them, because 4, 5, and 6, that because it's a square matrix, those will be in the right position. But then if you look at the 7, 8, and 9, basically you know, you'd want that over here at the beginning there. So basically all we need to do in this case is just reverse each of the rows. So we can just say 7, 4, 1, 8, 5, 2, and 9, 6, 3. And then if you look at this, you can see that this row here has become this column here. This row here has become this column here, and then this row here has become this column here, or we've rotated the matrix 90 degrees. So that's pretty much the trick to knowing how to solve this question, is just transposing it and then reversing it. Because we need to do this in place, it isn't really possible to do that in just one step. We need to have 2 steps. So this is going to be an O of n squared, because we're going to need a loop through each row and each column. So, and the columns and the rows are of the same length. So let's just go ahead and we can just go, you know, for whatever the length is for the matrix, we can just go ahead and we can just increment I. And then I'm just going to copy this down, and I'm just going to say, well, we'll need to do the same thing for j. Now here, instead of j being equal to 0, we can say that j is going to be I plus 1, and j is also going to be less than n, because we've sort of going through each of the rows to get the columns. Recall this is in an array of arrays, and then each sort of subarray is referring to the columns. So you can just go ahead and you can just skip one there. So basically what we want to do is we just want to you know, swap things over. So this is sort of how you first probably think about solving the question. You probably want to say, well, I want the matrix I and j to be equal to the matrix ji. But then you need to realize that you need to do it for the other way on. And we've sort of lost this matrix ij here. So what we can do is we can just go ahead and copy that. And we can just make a temporary variable here. And then we'll set that there like that. And that way we can say, well, we can make the matrix ji equal to that temporary variable there. And that's going to do that first step for us. So if we just think about this, so let 0, so we're on the first row here, and then we take the numbers, say here, and we want to sort of like we need to swap the, so this is in position 0, 2, and the 6 is in position 2, 0. So we essentially just swap the numbers there like that. And, you know, 0, 2, oh, it says 2 before, I think. This 0, 2 here, that'll be 0, 1. Will need to be 1, 0. And then this 3, 0, 2 will need to go to the 2, 0 position. So essentially we've just sort of swapped things around. So then what we need to do is we need to reverse each row. And this is pretty easy to do. Just to complete the rotation, what we'll do is we'll just loop through the grid. And we haven't assigned any variables at all other than this temporary variable. So we've more or less done this in place. And then we can just say, well, whatever the row is, we just want to reverse it. And that's pretty much all there is to this question. So let's go ahead and submit this. And we can see this beats 80% of users with TypeScript, so that's pretty good.